The pieces have started to fall in place. It is free agent Jenga and the real free agency, believe it or not. Although we've had so much news already set to start in just about a half hour as you look at our free agency big board, 4 o'clock Eastern, the official start of the new league year. So we say Happy New Year from all of us at NFL Live. And also the official start anyway, of free agency. I mean, this is like roll call, right? Like you could be missing, and we might not notice. But we've got Diana Rossini, Teddy Bruschi.
What's up,
here.
bro?
Hello, Trey.
Adam Schefter. Wow. Chris Mortensen, JoJo. Trey Wingo, of course. Bill Polian, our resident Hall of Famer. And pulling up, what'd you say earlier? The
anchor leg.
The anchor leg.
Oh, Lord. Is that how you're anchor man?
And what did you call him? What's his name? Would you say his name?
At least you were Usain Bolt before.
I was.
Yeah, that's right. Usain
I like
Bolt.
that.
So
yeah.
listen, we often don't hear their names called unless something's gone wrong, right? But here's the good news. Today we've heard their names called, and it's because they are calling them all the way to the bank. And I'm talking about the offensive linemen who are getting paid.
You got that right. Every year we talk about quarterbacks and wide receivers. If you don't have an offensive line, you don't got nothing in this game. And one of the guys who has a lot is Andrew Norwell. Last year he was graded out as the best pass-blocking guard in the NFL. It's a 5-year, $65 million deal. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars as they continue to build that franchise around Bill Polian's protege, GM David Caldwell, getting things done in Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Nate Solder leaving New England and going to be the blindside protector for Eli Manning and company in the Giants. It's a 4-year, $60 million deal as the Giants address what was a massive need for them. So the Giants get Nate Solder, but they also lose an offensive lineman because Weston Richburg, who has played several positions for them, is now leaving to play center for the San Francisco 49ers. It's a 5-year deal, according to ESPN insider extraordinaire Adam Schefter. So you have the big uglies moving and getting paid big time. And if there's one thing we've learned over the last couple of Super Bowls, if you don't block, you don't got a chance. It was just 2 years ago that the two teams that met in Super Bowl 51, to go with Josina's ringtone, were the two teams, the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots, that had the most consecutive snaps played together, or the most snaps played by their 5 starting offensive linemen. And what do we see this year in Philadelphia? Jason Peters, their fine offensive tackle on the left side, goes down. They plug in Big V, Hulapali Vaitai. They go in and they solidify.
Yeah,
It's bragging, is what it is.
But you got to give him credit.
You got to
give him credit.
It rolls off the tongue.
That's impossible to do.
But they found a way to make it work with that offensive line, and that's one of the reasons that Nick Foles was able to do all those things and become a Super Bowl MVP. The line matters.
It certainly does matter, and we've got a dearth of offensive linemen in this league. The Giants have had a sinkhole at left tackle for the last 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, quarterbacks go in there, running backs go in there, and they disappear because they can't block anybody. So they had to go. Both Lou and I believe Nate Solder is sort of slid down a little bit, gone down a little bit in the last, particularly at the end of this year. He had some injuries. But the bottom line is they had to sign him because there's no one else out there.
Right.
We got a problem in this league. We got to find offensive left tackle.
Where are they? Why is there a dearth?
The transition of the offense.
The transition is really difficult. And here's the thing with left tackle. We had in Indianapolis, I think, one of the great offensive line coaches of all time in Howard Mudd.
There's no question.
And he could take disparate guys, Jeff Saturday, Ryan Deem, Ryan Lilja, who was literally a watch charm guard, barely 300 pounds, and make them into a cohesive unit. But Tarek Glenn, the left tackle, was a first-round draft choice, and he was the linchpin of the whole thing. If we didn't have him, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And then we drafted Anthony Costanzo in the first round to play left tackle. You must have a left tackle in this league. If you don't, you just simply can't play. And they're hard to find.
And I'll take it one step further. I think at this point you're starting to see the money trickle inward to offensive guard, offensive center as well. I think you've mentioned the fact that, look, ideally, if you could, you'd have 4 left tackles out there. You'd have all tackles out there.
Right.
And why is that? You see how much better the 3 techniques have gotten in this league, the guys who rush over the guards. You see what happens when, look, it's very easy for a guy like J.J. Watt or Von Miller to just go, okay, well, your left tackle is your best pass protector. I'll just stand up over here.
Correct.
Oh, you have 2 good tackles? Guess what? I'll take Jadeveon Clowney and I'll put him over your guard, over your center. I'll cover up your guard and both of your guards and your center so I can get one-on-ones with those guys. We won't even mess with your outside guys. Why do you think the Jaguars signed Andrew Norwell? Now, obviously, they want to run the football. They're a team that likes to run the football between the tackles. But you need to have 5 guys who can pass protect now because defensive fronts have become so multiple. The defensive tackles have gotten so much better. And that's why you're going to see an offensive guard this year in the draft get drafted all.
That's why Nelson.
The hardest the hardest front to block, if you have deficiencies, is that 5 front where they cover everybody.
Right.
Whether it's a Bears look or they just line it up.
Diamond, they call it diamond.
Diamond, yeah.
Yep. Fronts, right.
It doesn't matter. It's 5 on 5. And if you can't hold up there, one of those guys is getting free to the quarterback.
What's interesting, look, you say this all the time about Tom Brady. Every time we talk about him on NFL Live or Sunday Countdown, what do we say? Tom Brady hates pressure up the middle. Tom Brady hates when people get in his face. Exactly. So guess what? Why would you shortchange the center and the 2 guards then?
Yeah. There are multiple positional groupings throughout a team, but this is the main one.
Yes,
I mean, they're
cohesive.
Yeah, they got to work together.
A unit within the team.
You hope there's a coach that can form them into a group because whenever you look around a facility, they're always together, it seems. I mean, that group, for them to form that continuity to being together, playing together, once that forms, if you can do that with Solder and get a draft pick out of there with the Giants, you form that group, that's when you have the best offensive lines. They don't have the best individual players, the best offensive linemen offensive line groups at times, but together they play the best.
I make this statement. The most important assistant coach that you hire is the offensive line coach.
No question.
Because he's got that group by himself, and he has to mold it together. He's got to take disparate body types and disparate personalities and put them together as a unit, and then they have to work together, and he has to have the backups ready to go. That's a 7-man group that every Sunday that has to be ready to play as one. And if you don't,
we took notice when Dante Scarnecchia retired for a couple of years and came back to the Patriots. Look what Mike Munchak does with the Steelers. Jeff Stoutland with the Eagles. Those guys are special, and there's a couple other guys.
Even Bill Callahan, too.
What's interesting about those teams,
that's right.
Look, the Philadelphia Eagles invested heavily in offensive guard.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you look, if you believe Tom Coughlin knows how to build football teams, they have the highest paid center in the league. Highest paid left guard in the league.
Doesn't it just make sense?
Wendy, it absolutely does.
Especially if you want to help your quarterback.
Absolutely does. The quickest way to get to the quarterback is right down his throat, right up the middle. So you better invest there, too, and not just put it on the perimeter. You got to put it along the whole offensive line and make sure it's
no
secure.
disrespect to anybody, but it doesn't seem like it's rocket science. You got to keep those guys from coming right
That's right.
I just wanted to say that the Giants absolutely had to get this done. When you talk about some of the reasons why they made that regime change, going from Jerry Reese, Dave Gettleman is there, some of the things that were said at the press conferences had to get done, particularly when you look at some of the opportunities that were there before. Russell Okung wanted to come in there, be left tackle. They didn't want to do that, didn't want to make that, admit that with Eric Flowers at the time, didn't do the deal with Andrew Whitworth, wasn't even looking in that direction. So with where Eli Manning is in his career, had to get this done, and hopefully it's more to come because it's not enough.
Well, not only that, but let's be honest, one of the things that's driving the market for free agent offensive linemen right now is what happens after free agency? The draft. And this is a very thin draft for offensive linemen. God bless you, Adam. We love you. Stay healthy. Get him a bubble. He cannot be. He's contagious. We need Adam protected. He cannot
send him over to his bunker.
Go to the cave.
We've got a camera.
Go to Schefter Camp. We need you in the bunker. The point being that there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about a lot of the offensive tackles coming in the draft this year, without question. In fact, you mentioned the name Quentin Nelson, a guard. Might be the first guy taken off the board because he is filthy.
But you know what? And I'll tell you what, to hammer home Bill's point, and we've talked about this extensively. Look, Andrew Norwell came from nowhere. Nowhere. Development.
Jeff Saturday was
development on the offensive line is critical. Invest in offensive line coaches. Invest in them and pay them whatever they want when you identify the guy that you want, because that makes all the difference in the world.
Harry Heastan, the offensive line coach for the Bears, coming from Notre Dame.
Matt Nagy, he knows what he's doing.
Might be one of the most important free agents, or rather off-season coaching signings of anybody.